we'll go ahead.
Okay, you're good now, Ken. You're on the record.
Got it. It's 2 p.m. Welcome committee members and members of the public to this May 15, 2024 Governor's Workforce Development Board Executive Committee meeting. For the record, my name is Ken Evans, Vice Chairman of the Governor's Workforce Development Board. Katie, will you please take roll call, confirm a quorum, and verify posting?
Sure thing. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So first for roll, we have Vice Chair Evans.
Present.
Thank you. Crystal Slaughter.
Present.
Thank you. Scott Hammond.
Present.
Thank you. Councilman Black.
Here.
Thank you. We have Jerry Merritt. Just saw her come on.
Yeah, I see her on here.
Jerry, can you mark yourself present, please? Oh,
Present.
thank you. Okay, and then we have Robert Benner.
Present.
Thank you. And then Mr. Vice Chair, we had one pre-notified absence for Chair Anderson. And with that, Katie Gilbertson, Governor's Office Workforce Innovation for the record, I hereby affirm that this May 15th, 2024 Governor's Workforce Development Board Executive Committee meeting has reached a quorum. And I further affirm that the agenda and notice for this meeting were properly posted pursuant to Nevada's open meeting law, NRS 241020.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Gilbertson. Before we proceed, as chair, I kindly request that anyone who speaks today be sure to identify yourself for the record. With that, we'll continue on to agenda item number 4, public comments. Members of the public on remote technology are invited to provide comments at this time. No action may be taken on any matters during public comments until the matter itself has been included on an agenda as an item for possible action. Any public comments on the telephone? Any public comments on Zoom? And I'll give Ms. Gilbertson a chance to check.
I don't see any, Ken.
Okay, thank you very much. Therefore, we'll move on to agenda item number 5. Is there any discussion before I call for a motion to approve the March 13, 2024 Executive Committee's minutes? Hearing no discussion, I call for a motion to approve the March 13, 2024 Executive Committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Jerry Merritt, I move.
A second?
I'll second that. Scott Hammond.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
No.
Let the record reflect that the motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 6 for possible action, the Vice Chair recognizes the Employment Security Division Program Chief with the Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation, WISS, Janice Klein, to present state compliance policies 3.10, 3.18, and 3.8 is being withheld from the agenda for future discussion. Any questions for Janice? And Ms. Klein, would you like to present anything on 3.10 or 3.18 at this time?
Yes, Janice Klein for the record. 3.10 reviews program income requirements and guidelines. The policy provides guidance to the local workforce development boards on income generated with the use of funds awarded through programs by DETR. This policy is being revised to update the Workforce Investment Act and references the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, as well as update the format of the document. Figures have been added to provide clarity and examples of how program income can be applied. Additional resources from the ETA that have since been published are now referenced to provide clarity on the ETA 9130. Since 2005, the new training and employment guidance letters have been published by the Department of Labor, and they are included in this revision. There are a lot of changes to this policy and updates, so I'd kind of like to review it, starting with page 1. Any changes from WIA are referenced as the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and we also updated WIS, which stands for Workforce Innovation Support Services. This policy replaces the July 2005 WIA policy. The purpose provides guidance on income generated with the use of funds awarded through programs by DETR. It also reviews the authorities and references and updates any WIOA compliance. Anything that is crossed out has been replaced with the new CFRs, and they are notated on the authorities and reference section. It also references new TEGLs 28-10 and TEGL 15-14. And then again, the 9130 financial reporting resources and forms and instructions. The background section on this, the Uniform Administrative Guide, in conjunction with the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and its regulations, provides specific guidance regarding what constitutes program income and how it can be handled or addressed. So when we go down to the actual policy and procedure, the program income reviews the 2 CFR 200.80, which means gross income earned by the non-federal entity that's directly generated by a supported activity or earned as a result of the federal award during the period of performance, except as provided in 200.307 and paragraph F. Below it says paragraph F, there are no federal requirements governing the disposition of income earned after the end of the period of performance for the federal award, unless the federal awarding agency regulations or the terms and conditions of the federal award provide otherwise. The awarding agency may negotiate agreements with recipients regarding appropriate uses of income earned after the period of performance as part of the grant closeout process. Information on what is and is not considered program income can be found in 2 CFR 200.80, as well as individual agency guidelines. Program income may include fees for services performed during the performance period, use or rental of real or personal property acquired under federal awards, license fees and royalties on patents and copyrights, sales of commodities or items fabricated under the federal award, such as publications, payments of principal and interest on loans made with federal awards. The 2 CFR 200.80 program income may not be interest earned on advances of federal funds, and program income does not include rebates, credits, discounts, and interest earned on any of them unless specific agency regulations or the grant agreement indicates otherwise. Generally, taxes, special assessments, levies, fines, and other such revenues are not program income unless they're specifically defined in the grant agreement or agency regulation. These types of income are frequently mentioned in agency guidelines, so grantees and subrecipients should be careful that these revenue sources are properly reported and applied. There is a special note: if authorized by agency regulations or grant agreement terms and conditions, costs incidental to generating program income may be deducted from gross income to determine program income, provided these costs have not been charged to the grant, and grantees generally do not have any obligation to the federal government regarding program income earned after the end of the project period, as indicated in paragraph. There is another note: different funding sources use different methods of calculating program income. WIOA subrecipients must use the addition method. Funding may be braided with other sources that may use the other methods shown below, and it references the ETA 9130. The addition method is required for all ETA programs / grants. And then it says, refer to your subaward and application regulations to ensure that the proper methodology is being applied. 3 ways program income can be applied: deduction, addition, and cost sharing or matching. These 3 methods for applying program income are further explained below. Most types of recipients, absent more specific guidance from the Department of Justice grant-making component, must use program income to offset total allowable costs and reduce the federal award and non-federal entity contributions, such as the deduction method. Institutions of higher education and nonprofit research institutions, absent more specific guidance, may use program income to add the total allowable cost for the project. An example, addition method required for all ETA programs and grants. On page 3, there are some figures that kind of give you an example of what this looks like. In regards to the deduction method, the default method for how grantees apply program income is deduction. Deducting the income from the grant's total allowable costs. In the example shown below, figure 1, if $80,000 for a cost was designated to the federal share of the grant funds and $20,000 to the grantee's share of the grant funds, the total project would be $100,000. If the grantee earned $10,000 of income related to that funded program, $8,000 would be returned to the awarding agency, while $2,000 goes to the grantee. And figure 1 kind of gives you an example of what that looks like. Method 2 is the addition method. Second method for handling program income is addition, meaning that the program income can be added to the federal award. Other non-federal entities may use the addition method with prior approval from the federal awarding agency. Similar to the project in figure 1, figure 2 is funded 80% by the federal share and 20% by the grantee share. And the total project cost is $100,000. In this case, when the grantee is using the addition method of handling program income, the $10,000 of program income is added to the $100,000 of initial project funding. So you have a total of $110,000 available for the project. And then figure 2 shows an example of what that looks like too. Page 4, the third one is the cost sharing or matching method. The third method for handling program income is to apply it to meet the non-federal cost sharing or matching requirement of the grant. This alternative can be used if allowed by the agency regulations and specific grant agreement. Again, as in figures 1 and 2, the project is jointly funded by the federal awarding agency at $80,000 and the grantee at $20,000. With a cost sharing or matching approach, the income earned of $10,000 reduces the grantee share from $20,000 to $10,000. And then in figure 3, again, it shows an example of what that looks like. And that is what we have for program income for state compliance 3.10. Does anybody have any questions?
Anyone have any questions regarding state compliance policy 3.10 before we move on to 3.18? Hearing none, please proceed, Ms. Klein.
Okay. So the state compliance policy, it's not 3.18, it's 3.12. And it's recovery of tuition and training refunds. This policy provides guidance and establishes the procedures for the local boards regarding the recovery of WIOA tuition and training funds. It applies to all subrecipients and service providers. It's being revised to update WIA, to the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, as well as update the format of the document. References found in 2 CFR and 20 CFR have been added that were not included in the previous policy. This one again updates WIS as Workforce Innovation Support Services. It also changes WIA to Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and it's the recovery of tuition and training funds or refunds, replacing the 2005 Workforce Investment Act tuition and training refunds. The purpose, in accordance with the WIOA final rule, this policy provides guidance and establishes the procedures regarding the recovery of WIOA tuition and training refunds. It applies to all subrecipients and service providers. It also addresses a formatting issue. The directive may contain some state-imposed requirements. Any of those requirements are printed in bold, italicized type. It also references authorities to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, the WIOA Final Rule 134C3 FI4, and then goes over additional 20 CFR policies and 2 CFRs codes. The background, according to the WIOA regulation 20 CFR 683.410A1, and it takes off the old WIOA final rule and references the 20 CFR 667.410A1. Policy and procedure, it adds WIOA tuition and training refunds to the new revised policy. Again, it references WIOA rather than WIA. And then this one also references state compliance policy 1.13, enforcement and repayment. And that is it for 3.12.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Klein. Any discussion regarding state compliance policy 3.12? Okay, hearing none, I call for a motion to approve the state compliance policy 3.10 and state compliance policy 3.12. Do I have a motion?
So move, Scott Black.
It's been
Susan
moved.
Greger with a second.
Okay, perfect. It's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion?
Vice Chair, 1 second. Susan's not on the exec committee, so can we have?
Oh, I
somebody-
apologize. You know what?
Susan,
I'm on the other. Sorry.
Wrong one, wrong one.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
okay.
second it. I'll
Jerry
second.
Merritt, for the record, I was second.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been a move by committee member Black, second by committee member Merritt. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Let the record reflect that the motion carries for state compliance policy 3.10 and state compliance policy 3.12. And as I previously mentioned, state compliance policy 3.8 has been pulled from today's agenda and will be revisited at some point in the future. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 7 for discussion and information only. The Vice Chair recognizes the Office of Workforce Innovation Director, Scott Hammond, and Office of Workforce Innovation Policy Analyst, Katie Gilbertson, to give an update on the WIOA State Plan and the Governor's Workforce Development Board Strategic Plan. Mr. Hammond, Ms. Gilbertson.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Katie Gilbertson for the record. So I'm just going to give a quick update on the WIOA state plan and then kick it to Scott for the GWDB strategic plan. So where we're at with WIOA, they have to approve our plan by June 1st. So that window is narrowing, which is fantastic. We've been through revisions for 4 of the 5 sections, all successfully completed and sent back to the Department of Labor and Department of Education on time. Huge thank you to Janice and Wiss and also Nancy Olson, who's not on the line, for helping us out and getting those revisions sent in. But yeah, that's all. I'm happy to report. I don't know. There were a lot of revisions, but I don't know. It could have been worse. So got it right the first time, and I appreciate everybody's help. So we're almost done with WIOA. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so the task force, we reconvened last week. We went over pretty much all we didn't go into detail, but we went over some of the comments that we received from different stakeholders. We had sent out our strategic plan to about between 75 and 80 different stakeholders, and we received a plethora of feedback from them. We synthesized it. Some of the feedback we got was, it wasn't specific enough. We needed more data. We needed more, what do you call them, points. We need more metrics to try and figure out exactly what we're trying to achieve. We also believe that we were given direction to come up with a, what's the proper term I'm looking for?
A mission?
A mission statement. So we're going to include, we're actually revising a little bit of this. We're doing that right now. And then we will send it out to the remainder of the board for approval. We're not looking or seeking to find any more feedback from folks. We're just gonna make the revisions and then make sure that we get everybody to say yes on that, and that will be coming pretty soon. We're still pretty much on our task. We're on task because we're on schedule. We meant to get everything done by the 10th. That was when we had our last meeting, was on the 10th, and we should be able to have something wrapped up fairly soon. I know it was our goal to have something by, was it July? June or July?
30 days of June.
Yeah, so we're on schedule to do that. We'll have that vote out to everybody pretty soon.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Gilbertson and Mr. Hammond. Any questions for Scott or Katie? Okay, thank you very much. I just want to quickly say thank you very much to Ms. Gilbertson, Ms. Klein, Ms. Olson for staying on top of the WIOA state plan compliance with the U.S. Department of Labor. That's almost at the goal line, so thank you very much for that. And then Mr. Hammond, I want to say thank you very much for coming on board, hopping in, and helping us get our strategic plan done, which again will be our real-time document that we use to impact the overall system. So, and thanks again to everyone else who's been involved, especially the 70 to 80 stakeholders that provided us with input. Okay, with that, we'll move on to agenda item number 8 for discussion and information only. The Vice Chair recognizes Owen Director Scott Hammond to provide some remarks on the Owen Annual Report.
Oh, on the Owen annual report?
Mhm.
I don't know what to say other than we turned it in. I thought it was going to be something else because I think you wanted me to do remarks later on about my vision, mission and vision. The annual report is out. We have a print. Don't have a printed yet, do we?
No, we're working.
Yeah, we're working on getting this printed and sent out to everybody with all the revisions and all, the updated work that we've done on this. It should be coming out. Oh gosh, it's done. I think we can send it out digitally.
Mhm.
We are going to be sending it out digitally, but we're looking to get it printed up so that we can give it out in different, various meetings so that people know exactly where we're at.
Okay, that'll work. And if you want to add any other remarks at this time, I don't think I'll get in trouble, will I, Ms. Gilbertson?
No, am I on the agenda for later too?
No, this is it.
Oh, this is it. So, yeah, and with that, with this book, I mean, obviously, my agency is looking to figure out where do we fit in, what are we trying to push, and my staff and we've talked about this. What is the vision of Owen moving forward? And this is Dieter. Was excited because they see this as returning back to what the intent of Owen was, and that is as a convener. For me, what am I going to convene about? Moving forward, I really feel like there's got to be an emphasis on K-12 and on internships, work-based learning in particular. And that will be a lot of my effort would be in that area, making sure that we have opportunities for our students to learn in an environment that could potentially be their next employment after they graduate. We want to make sure that we work on connecting private enterprise with the education system. We want a healthier, more robust, I mean, it's moving in that direction now, but we want a more robust relationship between the private sector and education system so that these students have more opportunities to go out there and do something in that work-based learning environment so that they can learn not only the soft skills, but other things. They can learn anywhere and then get credit for that. We see that right now. A great example of that is with that the school, maybe some of you guys have heard of, there's a school in town. It's a private school, but they have a model. Cristo Rey, where every student has to go out there and do an internship, and it's how some of them afford their tuition, but they do it from their freshman year all the way through their senior year. So by the time they're done, they have a certain skill that they have developed and a relationship with a organization that they can then parlay into, or basically get into the work as soon as they get out of high school, if they would like to do something like that. And so we really want to see that. Our office is working on more internships in 3 areas because of AB 428. We're trying to develop a teacher pipeline. We are trying to develop a pipeline for healthcare. And we're developing a pipeline for the clean energy, the sustainable energy, and mostly in connection with the lithium loop. And so those pipelines are really important, but with those pipelines, you're going to have more connectivity between the students in K-12 with the private enterprises, because that's where we're going to get a lot of that overlap and that synergy that we're going to need to employ students as soon as they get out of high school. So that's sort of the vision of what I see the need right now, and I'm trying to coalesce all the partners in the workforce space around that synergy to make sure that we are driving towards that. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other things we're doing, but that's pretty much where I'm driving. I'm really trying to create along with this technology company a one-stop shop so that students from all over the state, as well as people who are outside of the K-12 space, they can go and find out what kind of internships are available, and all the employers can put material on there. We want to make it a digital wallet so that people can display what capabilities they have, that they can put their stackable credentials on there. They can put their 4-year degrees or 2-year degrees, whatever skills they have, they can put it on that digital wallet. These are things that we're doing in order to create more work around internships and work-based learning and apprenticeships.
Excellent. Any questions for Director Hammond at this time regarding the annual report and/or vision that's mentioned in the report, as well as just summarized by Director Hammond? Any comments, questions? Okay, let me add something and say thank you very much, Director Hammond. First of all, for coming on board, hopping right in, and continuing the efforts that are outlined in the annual report. And at the same time, thank you for communicating your vision / the Owen vision. I'll take a little bit of liberty here. I was asked about, I want to say that I received an honorary degree from the College of Southern Nevada, which is one of our community colleges that is definitely involved in what I'm going to call the workforce and economic development pipeline development effort that you're talking about, of which obviously internships and some of the other things that are going on are part of. So I was happy to get that recognition, but I definitely want to share with everyone that what I noticed several times is they had students in all 3 of those areas you mentioned in terms of healthcare, renewable energy, as well as, doggone it, I'm having a moment here, healthcare,
Teaching.
teaching. Shame on me. That's right. They had several of them that were receiving recognition for elementary or secondary education. So the point I want to make is this: the effort is underway. You're here at a great time, and I'm sure that your vision will come to reality through the partnerships that you talk about between our public and private entities in the state of Nevada. And once again, I want to say thank you to the College of Southern Nevada for including me in that effort in terms of the recognition. Okay, with that, we'll move on to agenda item number 9 for discussion and information only. The Vice Chair will facilitate a discussion on board development. And the idea here is we want to continue the momentum from the Governor's Workforce Development Training that we held in April with the National Governors Association, or NGA, and Wendy. In addition to that, have some discussion about the executive committee's role. So what I'll start with is Director Hammond or Ms. Gilbertson. I have some thoughts, but I want to defer to the two of you first. Any thoughts on, first of all, how we move forward and build on what we started in April, as well as the role that the executive committee can play in leading those future efforts?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about this quite a bit. You know, we don't want to stop the momentum that's been going, and I think in the right direction. So forward, right? We're moving forward, and obviously a lot of times it's what are other. If you want to get everybody excited about what they're doing on a board and the potential impact that they could have, you really want to make sure that they know what's going on, what they can do, right? If you're in a meeting, you want to make sure you ask the right question. Understanding what you can and cannot do, understanding what role you play. These are all vital to making a board a better board. So the training we got from Wendy in Idaho, as well as the NGA was really important. But they're not the only boards out there. We can learn a lot from a numerous other boards on what they are doing, what's working. And so I would say that the best way to do this is to invite other folks in. We ran across a former I guess, the very first director of Owen, Manny Lamar, who was here at a conference in DC with us. He would be an excellent person to bring in, talk about training, talk about what it looked like when he first started it, so we can kind of compare where we're at and moving forward, what can we do? I think it would be great to have him come in and speak. But there are other boards that have had a lot of success in their communication with the titles or with other agencies. What is the collaboration that they're doing? How are they consolidating all the workforce efforts that may lie in other agencies, and how do you coalesce that together? So I think that moving forward, we should make an effort to reach out to these other folks in different states and find the best practices and bring them in and talk about them, and then see how we can apply them in our state. I mean, you can't always just take something that exists in another state and then say, hey, we're going to do it this way, but we can certainly then as a board talk about how that might work in our state.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add, Katie?
Sure. Katie Gilbertson for the record. And I think the strategic plan that we're developing right now, from WIOA, from this stakeholder feedback that we've done pretty extensively, hopefully that's going to serve kind of as like the foundational document for this board moving forward, right? So that if we, we're still trying to develop and understand, like Scott said, what questions to ask. And then hopefully, you can look to this plan and find the metrics that we're making steps towards. So I'd say that's the critical time that this board's at, which is awesome. And I don't know, I mean, Ken, from your perspective, how do you see the executive committee playing the role in that?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for Director Hammond and Ms. Gilbertson's for your input, as well as your leadership and liaison in making that session happen. In terms of how we move forward, what I'll share with everyone on behalf of Chair Anderson is part of our goal, to the point made by both Director Hammond and Ms. Gilbertson, is we do intend to figure out how to incorporate board development discussions and training into all future discussions, i.e. agendas, so that it is something that remains top of mind. And so that we do make sure that we provide space for lessons learned, as well as discussions that lead to the proper adaptations of lessons learned from other states, boards, et cetera. So that's one. The other thing that I would just briefly mention, that from my perspective that was really appreciated, is the fact that Wendy from Idaho really stressed the fact that it was a journey to get to the point of where the board was seen as a value add and providing return on investment versus being a little bit of an adversarial relationship. So I definitely think that given where we are as a board, as well as where we have evolved from, we're at a point where we could definitely receive those lessons learned about how to make that journey so that our board can continue to provide good governance, and at the same time, be seen as a value add and a return on and produce a return on investment when it's all said and done. So again, from my perspective, what I anticipate is that on behalf of Chair Anderson is that we're going to make space concretely on future agenda items to make sure that we build on what we started in April. Any questions for either myself, Director Hammond, or Ms. Gilbertson regarding the pathway forward for board development?
Or Ken, if there's any other thoughts that people have on the committee, not just questions, but anything they want to add to it, that'd be great.
Good point. Any comments from anyone that was present for the April training? Okay, seeing none, we'll take that as a silent consensus that people are comfortable with the fact that we're going to continue what we started in April and appropriately adapt the lessons learned to what we have here in Nevada, as well as provide space for both future board development training, as well as getting speakers like Mr. Lamar, because I remember I want to say he was in one of my first meetings after I joined the state level board. So glad we're engaging him. Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 10 for discussion and information only. The Vice Chair recognizes Chair of the Governor's Workforce Development Child Care Subcommittee, Susan Brager, to provide an update on the GWDB Child Care Subcommittee. Ms. Brager.
Thank you so much. And sorry, I forget which committee I'm on, where I'm on so many of them.
It's all good. All good.
All right. Well, thank you all for giving me this opportunity to on our commit to Vice Chair Ken Evans, to Director Hammond, and to Katie Gilbertson. All that we have done recently is we were able to do an interview with the Washington Post about childcare, and it was pretty interesting what the person from back there had seen what we had done, and at the article on that, how childcare is a desert. And so it was interesting, the questions. We all spoke with her. We all gave, I felt, great fine-tuned points. We had a meeting, of course, before we met with her. Everybody knew not just what we were going to say, but the passion that came out of it and what we thought. She really was going to investigate further because she was just shocked that it cost so much for daycare and what people had to do to be able to be into a system to work on that. So I felt like she seemed very impressed from all that we were doing and what we were working on. On another note, we met with Brianna, and I apologize, I just forgot her last name. Anyone that was there have it? If not, anyone. Oh, thank you. She's with Sky Luna. She runs a daycare with also a place where those that have to go to work and have no place for their children, they can be in the same location. So we have chatted with Director Hammond, Katie, that I don't even know how I would do anything without her, and Chair Evans. And we all, once again, were able to have some very good dialogue. Where do we go? How do we do it? What buildings are out there? How do we get possibly someone like herself that would be the anchor or have the ability to run what we would like to do in the future, whether it's at a failed Kmart or we get someone that would donate $20 million or whatever it might be, to keep going forward, because this is really the one stumbling block to, I think, that can improve our economy and the ability for people to get to work. So I'm kind of in a nutshell person, but I would open this up to Chair Evans and Director Hammond, if there was a little bit more that we've been trying to accomplish before we have our next meeting, I believe, which is next week.
Director Hammond.
Yeah, some of the things that we've reached out to two different entities. One, well, he's no longer with. Oh gosh, this is what happens.
Stations.
This is what happens when I travel back east. Oh, Bob,
Stations.
Finch. Yeah, Bob Finch with Stations Casino. we wanted to find out what they were doing with the building that they had their childcare at. And so we reached out to them. We've had to leave messages. Bob has left the employment. I guess he's went into retirement. And so we're trying to, scratch out who's exactly his replacement so we can talk to them. The other ones, we've reached out to NAIOP. They're going to, they've included somebody who does look at real estate, and they're calling us back because, again, we're just looking for a particular space. We have sort of the criteria of what we're looking for, 25 to 30,000 square feet, and a location that's surrounded by at least 3 to 5 elementary schools and a few other criteria that we're looking for. And so we're reaching out to them before next week to see if we can, pinpoint a location to start looking at.
Thank you, Director Hammond. And the only thing I want to add is I'm just happy we're moving forward with the demonstration project effort. I definitely feel like it's going to come to fruition, especially since we have an individual from within that industry that is an actual provider and familiar with some of the challenges as well as lessons learned about what to do to move forward. Any other questions for the chair of our Governor's Workforce Development Child Care Subcommittee, Ms. Brager? Any other questions for her? Okay, thank you very much, Chair Brager. Please continue onward and upward. And again, we're going to get this demo done as well as address some of the other related issues for this subject matter.
And thank you to everyone on that committee, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Perfect.
Bye.
All right, with that, we'll move on to agenda item number 11 for discussion and information only. The Vice Chair recognizes Dr. Tiffany Tyler Garner, who is serving as the Vice Chair of the Governor's Workforce Development Board Barriers and Underserved Populations Subcommittee, along with myself, to present an update on the Barriers and Underserved Populations Subcommittee efforts to date. Dr. Tyler Garner.
Thank you, Vice Chair Evans. We are pleased to report that we continue our commitment to a statewide focus on solutions, particularly for the most disproportionately impacted in unemployment, and have identified who those populations are by region. Additionally, with a commitment to making sure that the work doesn't happen in silos, we have began reviewing a number of existing efforts underway. Previously, we reviewed the Disconnected Youth Coalition initiative that has prioritized the same age group and population that we have prioritized, and are pleased to report that we've had great representation by way of Katie Gilbertson, who is now formally attending that convening to make sure that the work is done in partnership or complement to these larger efforts. Additionally, at our last convening, we had a great presentation from a national group looking at what they call STARS, individuals who are skilled through alternative routes, including things like military service or certifications or other ways of skills credentialing, and are looking at how we might apply that information, given the fact that it makes up approximately 66% of the workforce here in Nevada. And they have identified that the public sector may be an opportunity to move the needle on employment. It's also important to note that during our recent efforts, we have continued our commitment to making sure that our efforts are centric to the folks who are most impacted by it. So there's been a great focus on ensuring that we include youth voice as a part of that work, and have identified opportunities statewide to engage the impacted communities in this discussion around what the viable solutions are. And as a result of Vice Chair Evans' great leadership and vision, have narrowed our focus and are continuing to narrow it to key areas where we believe we can move the needle over the next 12 months. Vice Chair Evans?
Thank you very much, Dr. Tyler Garner. The only thing I'll add is just a reminder, as always, at the risk of being repetitive, but sometimes that's necessary. The ultimate goal here is for us to contact the individuals who are most impacted or disproportionately impacted in terms of front-end access and awareness, and back-end actual employment in either a career path or with a livable wage, get the feedback from them, and then to the extent possible and appropriate, make adjustments to our system. As Dr. Tyler Garner mentioned, we are contacting groups in the north, the south, the rural regions, and then as a subset more recently, thanks to several individuals, we're also doing some tribal outreach as well. But the bottom line is we want to talk to the frontline people. And I want to give credit on the record to one of our board members, Evelyn Thompson Hilbert, because she always pounds into us. You must talk to the frontline individuals you're servicing, get their input, and then make adjustments accordingly. So from my standpoint, I'm glad that we're getting that kind of input. And now what I hope to say, and this ties to our strategic plan development, is that we're going to put the systems, mechanisms, and processes in place to make the adjustments and then have some results within the next, as she mentioned, at this point, 6 to 8 months. So more to come, making progress. Thank you very much, Co-Chair Tyler Garner, as well as thank you everyone else who serves on that committee. Any questions for Dr. Tyler Garner or myself at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll close out this agenda item. We'll move on to agenda item number 12 for discussion information only. I'd like to see if there's any new business from any of the executive committee members. And I think I already took my point of privilege about College of Southern Nevada, so I won't do that again. Any other new business from any of the executive committee members or comments? And I'm scanning here. Okay, I think we're good. Any final questions for me? Okay, nice smooth meeting here. And I think I'm going to give you back some time again. Okay, before moving on, the chair kindly requests that any member of the executive committee who arrived late after roll call was taken to please identify themselves at this time so you are marked present. Anyone else, Ms. Gilbertson? Okay, I think we're good there. All right. We'll move on to agenda item number 13, which is our second public comment session. Members of the public are invited for final comments. Any public comments on the telephone or any public comments on the Zoom? Ms. Gilbertson, I'll give you a minute to check.
I do not see any.
Okay, perfect. Okay, with that being said, Director Hammond and Ms. Gilbertson, please continue your trip and to represent us well in terms of advocacy. And thanks again for participating remotely. And then thank you to all our executive committee members for being here today. I will give you back 12 minutes, if not more. Hearing no further comments, I hereby move to adjourn this meeting. We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank